I'll keep these questions short so nothing's like over your head. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm terrified right now.
Cheers.
When you get a chance, could I grab a scotch? All right. Through your life, you've been an activist, a writer, an author, called many things. What adjective do you like?
My trade, it's not really a profession, it's a craft, is good old journalism, really. I mean, I don't mind being called a journalist. If someone else wants to call me an author or a writer, that's fine. There used to be an argument for saying writer, because on your passport, old British passports used to have a space you had to fill in for occupation. If you had writer, you could change it to waiter with a stroke of pen at any border crossing where they didn't like members of the press.
Oh, okay.
Because waiter would be the only other thing I could do.
You think so?
Waiter,
that would be your other occupation?
Waiter or barman. I mean, I'm too old to be a male prostitute.
The book starts where you come across being referred to as the late Christopher Hitchens. Now, am I to understand a little bit that this memoir grew out of maybe a fear of your own demise?
Not a fear, but a sudden awareness of it. I'd just turned 60, and I hadn't cared about being 40 or 50 or 55 at all. But 60 did hit me more than I thought it would.
60 is important.
It is, yeah. Whether you want to or not, you will find your thoughts turning retrospective. And they were doing that anyway. So, well, probably this would be the right time to write a memoir. Yeah.
In the book, you're looking to establish the dualities of your life, your personality. You talk about the fact that you can see both sides of the argument or the issue that you're dealing with, but at the same time, you're a man of very specific arguments, and you don't seem to have a lot of sympathy for the opposition.
No, that's not necessary. I mean, being objective about an argument is different from being even-handed or fair-minded about it. I mean, I think it's an obligation to be able to understand the other person's point of view. The problem with that is sometimes you'll think, actually, this is more persuasive than I thought it was. But it does happen that your own opinion should be modified if you're arguing honestly. The better points the other person makes will, at the very least, they'll sharpen your own. And they may often make you think, actually, maybe that bit of my case isn't that brilliant. In my book, I describe how I've been visiting Iraq on and off since the 80s, actually, excuse me, since the 70s, since Saddam Hussein first took power, and how my mind gradually changed almost 180 degrees against Western intervention in Iraq, to the conclusion that I'd been wrong about that, and actually there was no alternative but the removal of Saddam Hussein. I think it might be interesting for people to read, because I don't just produce a certain amount of evidence, but I try and show how my mind was working and what sorts of reasoning impressed me and what didn't.
That change of mind cost you a lot of friends.
Oh, I made some nice ones too.
Okay. Well, one of the things right now is the Tea Party. I mean, as someone who's from a background of political activism, how do you see the movement?
I went to a rally they had in Washington the other day, big one. I found it rather sad, actually. There was a guy standing just in front of me with a sign saying, "Today we came to defend the First Amendment, but when we're back, it'll be for the Second Amendment."
It's troubling.
Yes, but they were trying to be threatening, but they just weren't. I mean, it was pathetic, actually. And it's the same when you get death threats on the phone. That means that's one person you don't have to worry about. The one you have to worry about is not going to tell you.
So do you feel like the Tea Party is going to make any sort of effect on the elections that are coming
People
up?
who are worrying in this country are the small but growing number of people who are turning towards Muslim jihad. There are not very many of them, but there are going to be more. And a lot of them would have been born here, and they're being propagandized. That really is serious, and isn't taken seriously enough. I think people think it's so small that it can be dismissed, but it can't.
But we saw it here in Times Square a few weeks ago.
Yes, and you're going to see it again.
Why do you feel that is? Why is that going to grow here in the United States?
Well, it's growing everywhere.
And so this is just going along with the global movement.
It's part of the civil war within the Muslim world. Part of that civil war is being fought out here.
Let's get back to your memoir and some of...
Oh my God, had we strayed?
Yeah, we've completely forgotten about your book. Let's get back to this.
Well, no, because the book is a lot to do with.
Oh, absolutely, because it's about all your work throughout your career, and these are major issues to what you've written about. But at the same time, a lot of this is also about your lifestyle. You know, if you do a Google image search of you, one of the first images that comes up is you getting your thighs waxed. You know, if you do a Google image search of you, one of the first images that comes up is you getting your thighs waxed. And then there's another image of you getting waterboarded and looking very, very unhappy.
Yeah,
about doing that.
That was a shaker. Waterboarding is death because people say waterboarding simulates the feeling of being drowned. No, it doesn't. You are being drowned, but slowly. Your whole system is conditioned to resist by every means it can. Everything in you sort of bursts into a shout, yell.
Sure. And when you were doing it, it was for a story, so you were pretty sure they weren't going to kill you accidentally.
I was fairly sure they weren't going to do that, but it was rather worrying to have to sign the indemnity. So I found the professionals who were willing to do it. It was illegal.
Right.
On American soil, but that wasn't the only concern. They said you have to understand that even playing around with this, you can have a stroke, a heart attack,
Sure.
permanent physical or mental damage.
So there was a bit of fear there that you might have a heart
having to
attack.
read that through and sign 3 copies of it,
Yeah.
and knowing it was coming in a couple of days, that did kind of prey on the mind, yes.
Sure.
Then I had, after it was over, I don't get nightmares, usually, at all, but
Yeah.
I did, for a long time, feel that I was being smothered. I
Really?
have to force myself to wake up. Yeah. Very bad dreams and constant interruption of sleep. And if anything, just even a bit of a sheet was over my face, I would feel I was being assaulted. But for about 6 months. It was
Yeah.
very nasty. I had to take sleeping pills.
Now, have you ever had any nightmares about getting your thighs waxed or your ass crack waxed?
No, but the thing, what I can tell people who might be thinking of doing it is this.
Yeah.
And it's why it's worse for men than for women.
Why is that?
Because in order to rip, you have to grow. I'm not going to draw you a picture.
I think
It's unbelievably
I
painful.
heard. Yeah, I can only
It's
imagine.
unbelievably painful. It goes on for a very long time.
Because the skin is not taut down
Especially if, like me, you're covered in fur.
there. Yeah. Well, I see in a lot of pictures in the book that you're very proud of the chest pelt. You get the chest pelt out there.
Well, I couldn't very well conceal it. I don't sound proud of it, but there it is.
Well,
pelt.
there is an option of whether or not you unbutton this button or leave it buttoned.
It's a pelt a man could be proud of, yes.
What did he say? Back crack and
Sack.
sack.
Yeah, that's the vulgarism for it.
Yeah.
And I went to the original Brazil sisters, the ones who pioneered. I mean, there are guys who do it regularly. I just don't understand this at all.
It's vanity.
I don't know. Yes, but
Yeah.
of a very peculiar kind. Well, apparently there is. Shall we do this, really?
Sure.
There's one strong reason.
We
for
can
doing
go
it.
highbrow, lowbrow here.
If you want to make a porn film, it makes everything look more. There's more profile.
Sure.
Makes things look larger.
You seem to be a man who's very motivated by sensual pleasure, by drinking, by getting out there, doing things, being out there. Hasn't it been only 2 marriages?
It's true that journalism, especially journalism that involves travel, is historically well known to be bad for marriage. Yeah, it is, and it may attract the sort of men who aren't particularly brilliant at marriage anyway. For all I know.
But you've been fairly successful at it,
The journalism,
and the marriage.
I've been lucky. I think women have been very kind to me.
You stress that a lot in this book. Women
Yeah.
have nurtured you quite a
I
bit.
can't believe how generous these people are. What do they see in us? Do you think?
I don't know.
No.
We're useless sometimes.
Well, they're very forgiving, is all I can tell you.
Yeah. You just got to find the forgiving, the
You
right
sure
forgiving
do. The
one.
indulgent type.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the things I think is so interesting about you is that when I was reading God Is Not Great, how well versed you are in the Bible. You almost, it seems like you know chapter and verse, almost like the back of your hand.
No, that's too kind, but I'm sometimes grateful that I was made to attend a church every day when I was at school. In England, my country of birth, it's a legal requirement. Schools have to bring you into the chapel and make you attend. And you're also supposed to study the Bible in school. And when I was young anyway, it was taught as revealed truth. So I got to know it quite well. So they made a mistake doing that to me. I quite enjoyed it, I must say.
You think they made it?
Some people found it horrible to have to do it. I liked it. It's a great literary effort, I think better than most people know.
Did you say your favorite, one of your favorite parts of the Bible is the water into wine?
Well, it's the most useful of the miracles.
Research for this, I came across a site called Christopher Hitchens Watch. It's a group of bloggers talking about how dangerous you are, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of depth to the site, but it does seem to show that there is a community of people who seem to be scared of you.
I don't want to tell them I'm non-threatening. If I spent time following all the negative stuff about me on the cyberworld scene, I just wouldn't be able to do much else.
Right.
I don't pretend not to know that there are people who don't like my stuff. I mean, I'm very well aware of that. I sort of know why, too.
You've been published before the web was a big part of public discourse, before it even existed. And then now to see how your work, it's almost an immediate feedback you're getting.
If I walk out on the street now, it's a fair chance that someone will come up and say hi. And this is, I like to think it's because of my books, and sometimes it is, but more than anything, it's because of YouTube.
YouTube, because of the speeches
there
that
appears to be an enormous archive of my stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how to negotiate this world. So to me, it's me too. I mean, I don't see what's you about it. It's moi too.
Right.
But people say, oh, that was a great, and they mention some debate I had 10 years ago. It's astonishing, and they're easy to find, apparently. So more power to all this, I say, even if it means that there's an anti-Hitchens wing of it. That's a small price to pay.
So do you use YouTube at all? Have you ever watched some of these old clips of yourself?
You'll be sad to hear this, perhaps, and it makes me sound like an old curmudgeon, but I can barely use my cell phone. I can't use it for anything except making phone calls. I can't make it take messages.
You don't text people?
No. And I don't use it to take photographs or anything like that.
Yeah.
No. I took a long time to get onto email and word processing. I'm very glad I did, because as it happens, I used to have to write very, very fast, but not as fast as I could think, so I was often having to pause and my hand would hurt. With the keyboard, the soft keyboard, I found the thing that's exactly right for the speed at which I write.
Okay.
Perfect.
So the keyboard matches up with your train of thought?
It's not that long since I had a stand-up metal typewriter.
How long ago was it?
Well, until they shut the last store in Washington, D.C. that sold ribbons, which is, I suppose, about
When
12
ribbons
years
were
ago.
gone, you were like, fine, I got to get a computer.
They made me do it. I had to
Who made you get a computer?
The people who closed the ribbon store.
All right, so this is Drinks with Writers. So, I mean, I think, if you'll allow me to quote, I think this is a direct quote from you. Many great writers did some of their finest work when blotto, smashed, polluted, face, squiffy, whiffled, and 3 sheets to the wind.
Yes.
So tell us, who is your favorite hard-drinking writer?
Kingsley Amis.
Kingsley Amis?
Yeah.
A friend of yours?
Yes, I knew the old man quite well and saw him consume staggering quantities of drink, and I've written an introduction to his book of advice called Everyday Drinking on how to manage alcohol. Quite a good book.
It seems like great writing and the alcohol that goes along with it is mythologized in a way.
Of course.
I mean...
It's all the whole legend of the Bohemia and the village and all this,
Yeah.
They all knew how to hold their liquor, If you have to drink in order to write, then you're a loser. If you can't write without drinking, then that's bad.
Yeah, that's
you're a bum,
yeah.
and you won't last very long. But if you find it an occasional stimulant or even inspiration, which some people can, I can, then you may be all right. But you have to guard it very carefully. It's got to be master-servant relationship. And I know a couple of writers whose names you would know, but I'm not going to tell you, who managed to smoke dope every day and find it incredibly useful. It doesn't seem to affect their memory or their fluency at all.
How have you found that it affected your writing?
I've no interest at all in narcotics.
You've never tried narcotics at all?
Oh, of course. In the book I say I'll try anything once except incest and folk dancing.
I think that's a good idea. Well, thank you, Christopher. I really appreciate you.
I hardly got my trousers off.